Good morning, everyone. My name is Waylon, and I'm from Techman Robot. So today I will be introducing the AI and, so to speak, the artificial intelligence and what is the artificial intelligence and all sorts of cool things about it. So let's take a look at today's agenda. So there are four topics that I want to talk about today. So the first topic I want to talk about is the what is the AI, and we in this chapter we'll take a look at some of the fun facts and some of the histories of artificial intelligence. And in the second chapter, we'll be looking at what we call the AI AOI function. So the AI AOI function is basically a application that we often use in manufacturing businesses. So during the third chapter, we will take a look at how AI is created. So in artificial intelligence, there are a few steps that we follow to allow this artificial intelligence to be great, and it will be deployed to our businesses worldwide. And in the fourth chapter, we'll be looking at more a detailed prospect at the difference between classification and detection. So we'll be definitely understanding the terminology behind classification and detection and some of the cases that is going on worldwide. So let's take a look at the first chapter. So here's a great question. I believe that all of the world is now talking about artificial intelligence, and actually this is not a simple thing to explain, but I would still like to invite all of our listeners to answer this question. What would be your definition of artificial intelligence? So for my definition, I would always like to use this beautiful example. So as you can see, this is the Tin Man from The Wizard of Oz. So in the story, The Wizard of Oz, the Tin Man was really helpful to Dorothy. And obviously he's made of tin. And he has an axe that he chops wood to build things like bridges or boats. So in the story, ironically, he wishes that he has a heart. So this bears the question. Now here's my first question to all. Does the Tin Man have a heart? The answer is no. So he doesn't have a heart like all life forms do. So he's more like categorized as a machine. He does all these things to help Dorothy. So the question is, does the Tin Man count as artificial intelligence? Does he possess all the characteristics of artificial intelligence? So this is a question that I believe can be debated for a long time. So I'll leave the question to you. Here's a definition of artificial intelligence from Wikipedia. So artificial intelligence refers to machine imitating human thinking and human behaviors in order to realize the intelligence of human beings and accomplish what we thought only humans could do in the past. So basically, the artificial intelligence by Wikipedia's definition is that we are trying to make machines think and behave like us. So in the past 60 years, the artificial intelligence has experienced several rises and falls, and it has detonated again in recent years. So basically, the next part we'll look at is a small history of artificial intelligence. So in short, humans use programming logic to let machines behave and think like humans. So this is a really advanced and not at all easy thing to do if you really think about it. So let's go over the history of what happened within these 50 years or maybe 100 years from now to before. So at the start of a new terminology, the artificial intelligence is actually quoted in 1950s. So back then, basically the definition would be any technique which enables computers to mimic human behavior. So it's not really the definition we're looking for, because right now artificial intelligence actually can do a lot of things in general. But during the past 30 to 40 years, we came up with another definition or another term called the machine learning. So in machine learning, the concept or the gist behind it is the computers are acquired to have the ability to learn without being explicitly programmed to do so. So basically from the 50s to the 80s, computer science has been advanced and developed very fastly. So we can call this machine learning. And up until maybe 10 or 15 years ago, there was another more deeper definition of artificial intelligence called the deep learning. So the deep learning would be a definition of the computation of multi-layer neural networks feasible. So as you can see, when we're thinking about artificial intelligence, if we go back to the definition that might apply to the Tin Man, it's not really the exact definition we're looking for when we compare it to the applications we do these few years. So you might think that the Tin Man might not be a artificial intelligence, but as I said, during this past 50 to 60 years from now, the artificial intelligence definition must have a lot of different transitions. So let's take a look at the beginning. This person seems really important. And before I say what his name is, I would like to invite everyone to take a great look, and I would like to celebrate this person in general. So if you don't know his name, that would be fine. But I definitely believe you would have a very great really great imitation of this person if I have this photo for you. So this movie, The Imitation Game, was actually published in the 2016 or the 2017. So it was played by Mr. Benedict Cumberbatch, and it was a portray of the father of computer science, which is named Alan Turing. He's a British scientist that has been around the World War II, and he actually devoted his life to computer science. And a lot of the computers and the methodology behind our modern computers can be dated back to his great accomplishment. So the first beginning, I would say, to my opinion, would be the 50s. So in 1950, the first formal document that discusses machine intelligence was written by him. So this is actually the document I dug up to the 1950s. Well, it's actually not the original document, but as you can see, it says the computing machinery and intelligence. So I would just like to point out a very great example in this paragraph. Can machines think? So this is really a innovative thought if you think about it, because in the 50s, the machines are basically packing up in a whole room. So if you go into a computer room, that would mean that this room is really hot and really packed with a lot of different devices that go up to the ceiling. And it doesn't look like anything we're looking at in these few days. So in the 50s, that's the birth of computer science and the so to speak artificial intelligence. So in the 60s, computers and robots are becoming more advanced, and people all over the world are developing the artificial intelligence, or so to speak, the computer science in general. So um, the most important part or the most significant history here I would like to point out is in the academic field. So in 65, a German scientist developed this program called ELISA. So ELISA, if you think about it, she sounds like a woman. So she's actually the first therapeutic computer program at the time. So this scientist actually used computer science and programming to write out a software that can chat with the recipient like human beings. So back then, ELISA actually chats with normal clients like a therapist would. So it's really a fun fact if you think about it, because a therapist should be having a sharp and really conscious mind to equip if you want to do therapy to a normal human being. But back in the 60s, scientists are trying to be more perspective in the part of computer science. So obviously, this is a really big breakthrough. So during the 70s and the 80s, we actually find that the artificial intelligence history or the development has taken some of the tolls, and it has some of the challenges behind those 20 years. So the reason is because that during the 70s and the 80s, a lot of the government are cutting budget in support for researchers such as computer science or basically what we call the artificial intelligence. So from the 60s to the 70s and the 80s, obviously the government thinks that this is not something that is worthwhile for developing, because maybe more of that thoughts or more of the programs are from a inspiration from movies or from local discussions. So there's no academic or any applications that would be practical in the future. But still, this doesn't stop the people around the world from dreaming. So I would like to point out that in the 70s, George Lucas, the famous director, actually introduced the world of Star Wars to us. So basically, I was not even born at the time, but when I grew up, this was the movie that gave me a very bright image of what robots or non-human beings can help us in the future. So George Lucas actually equipped the artificial intelligence into the characters like C3PO and R2D2. And obviously, these two machines are really fun to watch, and they interact with humans like real human beings. So this is a really significant milestone if you think about it. This is a perfect example that humans have already started to imagine a machine that would be smarter than us. So during the 70s and the 80s, even though the government budget in most of the powerful countries are not really that much, but in general, this is a really good example that the people are imagining things beyond our imaginations. So another thing in the 80s would be a lot of different movies have come up, and even though I'm only talking about Star Wars from the US, actually there are a lot of different comic books in Japan that also have the characteristics of machines that can do more things than human beings. They can fly, they can shoot laser beams, they can even do your laundry, and it's just so simple if you think about it. So let us go to the 90s. So in the 90s, basically it's more modern now. So a lot of government are getting back some more budget to develop, and a lot of big companies have taken this toll to develop very practical and significant intelligence, and some of the milestones have been established in the 90s. So this picture portrays the famous chess match between Gary, who is a Russian, I believe he's a Russian chess player, and he is going up against Deep Blue from the IBM company. So obviously, Gary, Mr. Kasparov, he hunched over the chessboard, visibly frustrated. So he's actually fidgeting in between the turns and shaking his head in belief as he waits for the opponent to put the final touches in the inevitable victory. So what I'm saying is that Deep Blue actually won this game. His opponent, Deep Blue, was the IBM supercomputer machine, and he was capable of imagining an average of over 2 billion positions per second. Again, 2 billion positions per second. But he's going to, when he's going to the match, Mr. Kasparov was confident. He's kind of like the Michael Jordan of chess playing. And he's been around from the 80s to the 90s, and he's just been very dominant in the field. So when Mr. George Kasparov played with Deep Blue, he lost to the computer in front of the global audience, and he was really desperate, is really frustrated. So this is a milestone, if you think about it, that machines have actually surpassed humans in some of the aspects of our lives. So later I'll talk about more when machines and artificial intelligence actually gave its way and defeated some of the brightest human beings in the world. So from the 2000, so the millennia, 2000 to 2010, there's a lot of different things going on, and I can't even keep track of all the milestones anymore. So I'll just talk about a few things that I think is most interesting to share with everyone. So in the year 2000, there's a robot. If you take a look at the left part, this robot is called Kismet. And what he does is that he can recognize and simulate emotions on his face. So if you're crying in front of him, he will be crying too. And the reason why he can do that is that he has a camera and a lot of sensors on the machine that he can portray the emotion and react to it. So if you're, I would say that if you're crying really hard, he would be crying really hard too. So until the year 2004, this probably would be my favorite story in artificial intelligence. The movie I, Robot was premiered in theaters. So this is actually a great movie to take a look at in your spare time. The first time human beings have portrayed danger and fear of the robots. So we can go into this topic for a very deep topic, but actually here I'm just going to introduce this concept to everyone because this is not even really related to the topics after this page. So this is just another question I would like to ask everyone to think about it. How deep or how similar to humans can a machine be? And would you be scared if the machines have been doing things like a human? So basically, I think that is a good question for you to think about it over this week. So in 2009, our huge company in the world, Google, he launched the first driverless car plan. So before Tesla, Google has already beginning this plan all along. And it uses multiple cameras and radars to help the AI drive safely and correctly. So as you can see, the car is a simple Toyota Prius, and it has a lot of what we call the cones on the road. So basically, the camera was installed throughout around the whole car, and the artificial intelligence the challenges that it faces is that it has to be very quick because the cars can be fast or slow sometimes. So the computing science behind it should be as fast as possible to keep up with the surrounding changes. So that's the topic in 2009. So a more modern history of AI. To the 2011, Apple actually released Siri. So this is, I would not say it's a milestone, but I would definitely say that Apple has released something to the world that we can all use, and in consumer products that we're facing artificial intelligence in a general basis. So Siri in the first generation or the first version is not so smart if you recall, but at that time, 10 years ago, Siri was actually doing tasks like they're doing right now. It's just that it cannot recognize all different kinds of demands like it does today. So back then, I remember I wanted Siri to shut off all my alarms at once. So Siri just tells me that she doesn't even recognize this demand. But 10 years later, this command is obviously the most simple thing you can think about when you talk to Siri. So there are different videos about people playing with Siri and chatting to them about artificial intelligence, and very funny things like is artificial intelligence going to take over the world? Or even there are videos of Siri chatting with Alexa, which is another artificial intelligence voice management. So another story here is that in 2016, Google developed AlphaGo. So in our Asian countries, we all know the board game called Go. It's actually originated many years ago, maybe back to the Chinese dynasties, and this game has been around for many years, and a lot of great players are considered to be the brightest minds in the world. So you have simply said it is that you have to have a higher IQ performance if you want to be good at the AlphaGo. I'm not saying that you cannot practice. Basically, if you're going to be maybe at the top of the world, besides practice, you need something more of a more intelligence equipped. So Google developed the AlphaGo to actually beat the world champion at the time, Mr. Lee Sedol. And the AlphaGo actually won Lee Sedol in I think 4 out of 5 times. So there is a funny story here is that Mr. Lee Sedol only won the AlphaGo once, and what's great about this, the only time human beings won the artificial intelligence, Mr. Lee Sedol actually have the chess game. Sorry, not the chess game. The board game Go. He actually made the AlphaGo go into some bugs, and while the AlphaGo became more subtle or more confused in the board game, in the end, if the AlphaGo forfeited, I think the 4th match. So I think this is a great milestone if you think about it, because right now the artificial intelligence have way surpassed the abilities of human beings. So here bears the question, because now we're in 2021. Why do we need artificial intelligence? So previously, we have a brief history in artificial intelligence, and it shows you that the machines have been developed by human beings to do simple tasks, and during these past few years, these tasks are not even simple at all. It can actually do a lot of different things. and it can surpass the human intelligence in a certain way. But we all have to go back to this reason. Why do we need artificial intelligence in general? So this is a question I would like everyone to think about it for a few minutes. So I'm going to introduce what we call the goal of developing artificial intelligence. So first thing I would like to say is that artificial intelligence enhance machine functions and capabilities. That's basically what it does. So second is that artificial intelligence can receive, and if it's smart enough, it can decide and react like humans would do. So think about the definition from Wikipedia again. So the first thing you should know is that the machine, or let's say a computer or a car or even a bicycle, all of these are machines. These are built by humans to enhance or support the human life. So these machines, if it can receive, decide, and react like humans do, then that would be the purpose of artificial intelligence. But it still serves as a simple reason to assist humans in all possible ways. So there should not be any artificial intelligence in the world that does not help any human beings. You can say that it's worthless or it's not even helping humans at all, but what it does should always be serving a certain purpose into the world, because we are the developers of artificial intelligence. So when we think about developing, we would always think about the requirements or the needs of ourselves, whether it is in the food industry, the consumer products, or the airline, the aviation, anything. Basically, artificial intelligence would support a certain part of the world. So let's take a look at another thing. So the key benefits of using artificial intelligence, I think, first, it can improve the decision making, because artificial intelligence would provide us with smarter insights. And second thing is that the artificial intelligence can be hyper personalized. That would mean that the artificial intelligence can support everybody personally. So it's kind of great if you think about it, because a lot of artificial intelligence have been working with independent human beings and have been catered to your needs all the time. I'll talk about a few cases later in the presentation. So basically, when we say hyper-personalization, I mean that besides allowing for hidden patterns and analysis for better prediction models, you can see that automated learning enables this personalization. What I mean is that the computer now is very advanced. It can process a lot of information faster than humans, obviously. So this characteristic can definitely support humans in ways that we cannot even imagine. So the third part would be artificial intelligence can also enable the business process optimization. So what this means is that we can foresee an increase in productivity and operational effectiveness. And the artificial intelligence can use advanced modeling and simulation techniques. And through the machine learning, we can assess the automated processes in one organization to make this adjustment in real time. So simply said, it is that if you're building your company, if you acquire the power of artificial intelligence, it can tell you things that you didn't even know. And these changes that you take would be very effective in general. So I would not say this in general, but a lot of big companies uses artificial intelligence in different ways. And if you think about marketing, there are different examples of we uses artificial intelligence in big corporates to advertise for themselves. So there's actually a lot of things in the benefit of for businesses, and we'll definitely talk about that later. But the last part I would like to say is that artificial intelligence will free up a lot of substantial time for you to engage in more creative work. So I believe there was a scene in the movie I, Robot that says, "Can you write?" The robot asks Mr. Will Smith is that he asks him, "Can you write? Can you write a sonnet?" And Mr. Will Smith actually is portrayed as a kind of a redneck or a police. He's very brutal. He doesn't acquire any artistic vibe. So he cannot write any sonnet as humans. But if we want to, he can still create art. In artificial intelligence, we see that the AI is basically serving humans in general. So these creative work should all base back to the task of human beings, because creativity is a key feature that separates us from machines. So we have, as humans, we have a lot of mundane tasks that does not require time to think. So if you think about it, there's a lot of things in the world that takes a lot of time to do, but obviously we don't need to think about anything, or we don't need to use our brain in general when you do it. I would say probably doing your laundry, or cleaning your toilet. These things are, I would say, really mundane, and it's not that difficult, and it just requires time to process. So if we allow the artificial intelligence to do these things for us, and we can automate that process beforehand, this would affect our personal life, and I would say personal life qualities. If you think about it, yes, there will be some costs when we automate these things, but actually think about it. Nowadays, people have generally they have a cleaning robot in your home. So that cleaning robot actually helps you clean up to maybe 80% of your house. So you would only have to clean out the parts that the robot cannot go. So even though not everyone lives in a big house, a lot of Asian countries we have like studios or condos. These spaces doesn't take up that much. So actually, the robot is doing 100% of the coverage in your home. So to speak, you're just freeing up your time to just clean your home, and you can use that time to maybe do something that requires more creativity, like drawings, or making music, or discovering a hobby. So all these things are great for human beings in general. So if you think about it, these key benefits have served one purpose and one purpose only: to serve the humans, to assist humans. So let's talk about the demand for artificial intelligence, or let's say the reason why suddenly we can ask for more. So the first thing I would say is that by the year 2000 and up until 2010, computers have been very developed and getting more advanced by the day. So it cannot be compared to the huge machine, and it takes up all the space in the room back to the 50s or the 60s. So now computers are really compact and you can place it anywhere. And even your smartphone is just a small computer. But if we're talking about a more advanced computer in general, the sizing space, it doesn't take up that much. So the first thing I would talk about the demand for AI is that it enhances the computing abilities in general. And the second thing is that during the year 2000 or back in the 80s, there was a term called the Industry 3.0, and we have that era because the automation has begun very dramatically. So in that part, we would see that a lot of machines and devices have been deployed into factories and homes. So these devices can be a great receiver for information. So during the 2000s, there was another phrase called the Industry 4.0, which affects all the industry in general, is that we uses and utilizes more big data to assist our daily lives or our businesses. So the demand for AI would be more significant now because we have abundant information and data gathering than before. So simply said, when we're trying to do something with our cell phone, now your cell phone can collect a lot of data without you knowing it. Back in the 80s or even the 70s, when cell phones only came out a few years, it cannot do such things. It cannot detect what you speak, the tones, and anything that can be an information to be collected. So this is getting more and more advanced in general. So the third part would be the improvement of applied algorithms. So this particular field of I would say the computing science would be developed right after, I believe, the 90s, because the computing science have been growing very dramatically over the past 20 years to 30 years. So the algorithms and a lot of academic fields in all the countries worldwide have been developing the applied algorithms in general. So this would allow the big data we talked about previously to have a solution or a conclusion. So that conclusion will help you assess or even try to react to a more effective way. So the fourth demand I would talk about is the smart investments and decisions. So actually, why we're talking about artificial intelligence is that we always want to help ourselves. And by helping ourselves, we have a better knowing of how or what effect I have when I invest in artificial intelligence. And we can decide in general about how in the future we can improve our investments and our management. So if you think about it, these four demands are obviously another way of saying that artificial intelligence are getting more advanced, and it can help us in many ways that is now, and it now has endless possibilities. So I would like to dial back and talk about something else. So let's move on and discuss the different programming languages for artificial intelligence, because we would obviously want to know how artificial intelligence was created. So there are actually a lot of different numbers of language that can be used for artificial intelligence. I am going to mention just two major ones. So first we have the Python. Python is obviously, I think, the most famous language for artificial intelligence. And here are the benefits of using Python. So basically, Python is a really simple programming language. And when you learn about it, you will understand that the syntax is really easy and really simple. And because Python is actually one of the largest programming languages now worldwide, we have seen a lot of abundant libraries and predefined functions that you can use. What this means is that when you use Python language, you will not be alone. You will have friends from worldwide that may have already developed something that you need. And you can obviously download that library or download that specific coding if you like to. So with Python, you can have different possibilities and you can share them. The community is basically really large. You can find support almost everywhere. So that is why Python is successful compared to probably other artificial intelligence programming language. So another thing I would say is that the resources worldwide can be downloaded almost to any platform. If you use Windows, if you use I say Linux, there are a lot of things that you can acquire just by getting into the internet. So the second the second programming language I would like to introduce would be Java. Now, Java has a rich history than Python, obviously, because it came out a little bit earlier before. And we all know that the artificial intelligence has to do a lot with the research or the search algorithms. So artificial neural networks or generic programming can be more assessed by using Java. And Java actually provides with many benefits. First, also is still easy to use. And basically Java, it doesn't have that simplicity compared to Python, but by using Java, you can actually see a huge amount of capabilities behind it. And actually, compared to Python, if you're using something more advanced or if your project is very huge, people would suggest you to use Java instead, because first of all, if you're having a huge project, the debugging phase would be a really pain in the butt. So the debugging phase for Java is kind of easy because the interface itself is really friendly. And the next thing is that if you're using a huge project, obviously you need to have some graphics or user interface. So Java actually has a lot of toolkits for that matter. You can download it and apply to your own project in no time. So up until now, we have introduced the history of the AI and the key benefits from my perspective and the demand. Why do we need? Why suddenly we can use AI in general? And then here are some of the introductions for using artificial intelligence programming. So next, I would talk about the applications in modern society.